few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to visit New York City, see some family, eat some good food, and take a lot of photos with the Leica M6. I spent about 7 days wandering around the city, exploring some really unfamiliar places, and revisiting a few of my favorites. I shot 4 rolls of 35mm film, and I want to take you guys along for the ride. All the photos you are seeing in this video were shot on the Leica M6 with the 28mm elmarit lens, and all the film was developed and scanned at Nice Film Club in New York City. Without any further ado, let's get into the video. So the first order of business when I arrived in New York City was to go and see this billboard that was put up in collaboration with Linktree. I made a whole video about this and you guys can go check it out, linked above if you want to, but that's not for this video. This video is about photography and film photography. While I was taking photos of the billboard, I snapped this photo looking back at Times Square during the day, and I think the lighting here was really good. The reflections of the sun off of New York City buildings makes for like a really weird lighting scenario whenever you're walking around. I think that the reflections of light kind of give you this very New York look, and it's something that you only get because of all these mirrors just bouncing off of each other. For a photographer, it's really hard to kind of like navigate this lighting setup because it's not just like a point and shoot. You have to like really think about what light is hitting what and what you're wanting to expose for when you're taking these photos. And this is really exactly what I had in mind when I was taking this photo. So I'm really happy with how it turned out. The first location that I wanted to go to when I got to New York was this Manhattan Bridge overlook. One, because the overlook is just really cool, and two, it's right next to Chinatown and there's some really good food in Chinatown. So I was going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here, take some really cool photos as well as eating some really good food. Now I know these are the first images that we are looking at from my trip, but I will say these are a couple of my absolute favorites. This view and this cut in the bridge just made for such good photography. Not only did it give me a place to like frame my photo, like I could frame my photo within a frame, being able to frame this road with this broken bridge, this cut bridge right in front of me. The 28mm also worked perfect for this. I do wish I had a little bit more compression, like a 35 would have been nice to be able to get some real compression, but I also don't know if I would have been able to fit everything I wanted to in the photo at 35mm. So I'm really happy with the 28 and how these photos came out. I think that these are like my favorite from the trip, and it was like one of the first days that I was out photographing. Also, this one of the bridge is definitely a top 3 photo from this entire trip. This is definitely a portfolio keeper, and I will be having this one on my website sooner or later. I just think it's really cool having that detail of the chainmail fence and then just like the leading line of the bridge, and then the light, it's just soft, it's moody, but it's like bright daylight. I don't know, I really love how this one came out. I decided to drag along my sister-in-law and her boyfriend as well as her roommate to come along with me, go on this little day trip adventure, and also they got to hold my cane while I was taking photos. For those of you that do not know, I do have to use a cane when I'm out and about. It just kind of helps me navigate the city and be able to have something a little bit to rely on when I'm out taking photos, but it was really nice to have my sister-in-law there to kind of like help me out and push me along. And yeah, just kind of walked around Chinatown, took some photos, and explored a little bit of the city this first day out. From there, we kind of walked a little bit more around the city and we ran into this skate expo situation going on. This is something that would never happen in Portland, Oregon, ever, where I'm from. This would have gotten shut down by the cops instantly, but it was so cool to see this type of New York camaraderie and like community just being showcased in the streets of New York City. All these people literally blocked off this road and just put a ramp in the middle of it, and everyone was skating and hanging out and hyping each other up. And we kind of sat there, took some photos, and kind of just experienced this cultural thing that goes on in New York. To be able to photograph some people skateboarding, I mean, this is why I started photography in the first place, and cinematography, so that was really cool for me. The next stop that I really wanted to go to on this trip was this place called the Oculus, and although I did try to go there earlier in my trip, I actually got kicked out because I brought all my camera gear and my tripod, and while I was sitting at my tripod, this happened. No. But I did get to come back with my sister-in-law and her boyfriend and roommate. My Attack on Titan fans that watch this channel will understand that the Oculus looks nothing more or less than Eren Yeager's ribcage, and only anime nerds will understand that reference. Go ahead and Google it if you don't understand it, but it really does look like that, and I'm just happy that I got to come here and photograph some stuff around the city. These photos are from the Oculus. Again, I just want to emphasize the architecture here at the Oculus. When you're shooting up toward this light, I definitely wanted to overexpose it and really get the detail of kind of like these arches, or what I feel like is like a rib cage. That's what it feels like to me, and you don't get to really feel the sense of scale until you take a more wide shot and showcase like all the people walking about. I mean, this thing is massive. It's not only a train station, but it's like an architectural masterpiece, and I really enjoyed taking photos here. I did shoot these on Portra 400, and I will say that I wish I had some 800 values in here because they do feel a little dark and a little blue, but that, again, that's just kind of like how the light was inside of the Oculus, but really happy with these images. Upon entering the Oculus, it's really remarkable. It is quite the piece of architecture. It's a bunch of different things in one. It's a train station, it's a mall, it's a photo location. It's just a really cool area and kind of like a unifying spot in this part of the city where everyone goes to get on the train, and it's just like a really remarkable piece of architecture to look at. And for someone who's not from New York City, this is probably like one of the most touristy spots in the city, but like, come on, you can't beat it. It looks absolutely incredible, both in photos and in person. So I was really happy that we got to go visit this location. Outside of the Oculus is really cool too, because you not only get a view of the Oculus, but you get a view of the One World Trade, which is obviously really special to be able to photograph that area. A lot of history here, and I think it's really cool that all of this architecture is just kind of like slammed into this one area of Lower Manhattan. It's just absolutely beautiful, and it was just very refreshing to be in a city photographing things, seeing new stuff. I've been stuck in Portland for so long, so it was really, really exciting for me to get out and experience all this stuff. I really like the framing on this photo. The Oculus wall kind of is the leading line towards the New World Trade in the back, which just looks like a giant mirror. The scale is really fun to play around with on this photo. I thought like seeing the people so small and the buildings being so massive just felt almost unreal in a certain way. So I had to snap this photo, and I'm really happy with how this one came out. These subway photos make me really happy as well. This was on Portra 800, and to get these kind of halations coming from the subway lights is really special. It's kind of like a signature New York look on 35mm film, and I don't really see it a lot with Portra, so I was overexposing my photos by one stop pretty much the entire trip. I just like the look of that, and I do think that lended its way to getting that red layer of film a little bit more burnt than the others. I think that halation is really cool and adds to the atmosphere of the photo. We decided to go and see my billboard at night. Again, I made a whole video about this billboard and how important it was to me and how much it means to me. So if you guys want to go check out that video, you can. I have linked it above. I did take some photos while I was here looking at the billboard, and those are some of my favorite from the trip. And I'm actually really happy with how these came out. The Leica M6 performed so well in this low light scenario, and I know that's weird to say for film because a lot of the time it's not like your camera doing that. I will say I was shooting these around 1/60th of a second shutter speed, and it was still picking up a lot of detail. There's not a lot of shake to these. I also do have a very steady hand just because I do a lot of cinematography and try to keep my video as steady as possible, so I am used to trying to like really capture that stillness. But I have to say it was really dark here and the billboards were really bright, so I didn't really know what to expect as far as my metering went, but I'm very happy with how these photos came out of Times Square. A few days later, I forced my sister-in-law to get on the train and go explore the city a little bit with me. We started out going to the very southern point of New York City, Manhattan, trying to look at the Statue of Liberty. Unfortunately, a lot of the southern Manhattan's under construction, so you really could only see the Statue of Liberty through these like peepholes, and it was kind of weird and honestly kind of lame, but that's okay because next up we were going to go out to an area called Dumbo in Brooklyn, which has this really popular view of the Manhattan Bridge, and this was one of my favorite stops on the whole trip. I had never actually gotten some time to like come here and photograph. The last time I was here it was really quick and sporadic, and I was running around and not really able to take it in. So we got to Dumbo, got some coffee, and really took in this view of the Manhattan Bridge. these photos from Dumbo came out really good. I will say that I do feel like they are a little bit too brown for my liking, and I know that is because I shot them on Portrait 800, and that tends to be kind of the tones that you get from Portrait 800, but I do wish I could scale that back a little bit, and when I did try to adjust it in the raw image, it was just not quite getting where I wanted to. I will say I love this photo of the bird flying over the Manhattan Bridge looking down. I think this is probably my favorite from this whole set of Dumbo. To have the bird's wings spread super wide and almost be perfectly centered over the Manhattan Bridge was really special to capture that on film. I mean, it's kind of hard to grab moments like this on film. You have to be really precise, and to hit focus and have this photo come out was really exciting for me. Also, like, I just want to say this Dumbo location is definitely overplayed and people come here a lot, and it's definitely a very touristy location, but there's obvious reasons behind that. It still is really cool. Just because somewhere is a touristy location doesn't mean that it's lame or whack or, like, I don't know. People like to hate on things for dumb reasons, but I really truly think that a beautiful location is popular because it is beautiful. So I really liked coming here and being able to hang out and take some photos. My friend Garrett also got to come meet up with us, which was very exciting. Garrett's been a friend of mine for a long time now, but we've never actually met in person. So it was really cool to actually get to hang out, take some photos. He brought his Mamiya RZ67 along, and we shot some film together. So that was really fun to get to network with him. His Instagram handle is shortstash. If you guys do not know, you need to be following his work. One of the most talented photographers out right now, and he's very inspiring. Really cool to be able to call him a friend.
Fun, and it just makes me slow down, but I'm trying to build a catalog for like I don't know, just a coffee table book of some sort that's just all film. So
love that.
We shall see.
And then what filter do you got on there?
So I got the everyday filter on there.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so that's tough because I always have to accommodate for basically a stop down.
Yeah, in film too.
Yeah, but it works, but it's been fun. It's just so heavy.
I know.
I saw that you have the Mamiya 7 too.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what I want to get next,
yeah.
like a smaller carry-on. But I'm like, damn it, everything is so expensive
and still heavy.
I'm just like,
this is Garrett taking a photo of me. We're doing that photographer thing where you point cameras at each other and you take photos, and that's basically what we did in this area. I do really like how this photo of Garrett holding his camera came out. I think this is probably my favorite photo I got of Garrett, is just him holding this camera, and I think it just showcases the detail that these scans can get from Nice Film Club are absolutely insane. I mean, for 35mm film to be able to crop in on the camera this tight and get that much detail is pretty gnarly to me, and I really love how the bokeh in the background kind of like falls off so naturally. I really like this photo. I think this one is probably my favorite from hanging out with Garrett. From here, we just kind of explored this area of Dumbo, took some photos, really just kind of took in these views. So we definitely took some time to hang out and take that in. I also love these photos from the walkway area below Dumbo, like near the water. You got a really great view of the Brooklyn Bridge and downtown Manhattan, as well as the Manhattan Bridge, and just were able to literally walk right underneath the Brooklyn Bridge shooting towards Manhattan. And that's just really cool to me, that you can just come underneath this bridge and it's just like right here. I mean, when you come from a town like Portland or these smaller cities that don't have this grand scale of like one, bridges, two, being able to get around easily, I think it's really cool to be able to photograph this stuff. So I really like how these photos came out. Favorite from the set's probably this one where Amanda, my sister-in-law, is holding my camera and her hair's blowing and there's the boat in the background, and it's just kind of like one of those scenes that feels very New York to me, like pure chaos but also very like serene and beautiful at the same time. So I really like this one. After this, we stopped at this amazing Greek restaurant. It's one of my favorite restaurants in the city, in the Upper East Side. If you're ever there, you gotta go here. It is so good. While we were eating Greek food, I looked up at this building and I had to take a couple photos while we were eating. One, because this building's beautiful, but also I looked up how much it costs to live in this building, and the penthouse was like $45 million. So whoever lives up there, your kids have stickers on the window of your $45 million penthouse. So either they're living a great life or you guys have no idea what they're doing at any time. Either way, more power to you. The next day was actually my last day in the city, and I decided that I needed to go to B&H to start out the day. So I headed over there, bought some film, and then headed over to Washington Square Park. Washington Square Park is a really cool area of New York that I had never actually been to before. During the summer, this place, I always see photos of it. It's like a ton of people hanging out. They're either like picnicking, kind of partying, just kind of having a really cool community area for people to go kick it. And when I went there, it was a bit overcast, but there was still a lot of people out. There's these people skating in this fountain that was completely dried out, and I took some time to load up the Leica and take some photos of this area. So this park was really photogenic. I mean, kind of everywhere I looked, I was wanting to take photos, and I think a big part of that is just because of the ambiance of all the people and the interactions. There was people skating, there was a girl screaming, there was this person dancing, there was this beautiful architecture, the cherry blossoms were blooming. So kind of everywhere that I looked made me want to take some photos. I did end up overexposing these by one stop, just because while I was there it was pretty overcasty and I felt like the camera needed more light than it was telling me. This is also just kind of like a side case of using the Leica M6 so often. I mean, I think I had become accustomed to knowing how the light meter works and what the light meter is reading and what actually needs to be shot onto the film. So that just comes with experience. But again, I'm really happy with how these photos came out. Apparently, this lady is also very popular. I did not know who she was, but people kept coming up to me and being like, is that her? Is that her? So if you guys know who she is, please let me know. Whatever she was doing was absolutely beautiful, and I thought it was very cool, so I did snap a few photos of her. From here, I just kind of explored this area of New York, and I went and met up with one of my friends, Nick and Tom. Nick actually has a book out right now. It's called Visitors, and it's about deathmatch wrestling, which is one of the craziest things you could say in a sentence, but it is, and it's a really fantastic book that just came out, so be sure to go check that out. The next day I was flying out and I had to go visit my friend Dane at his studio. It's called Between Space, and him and my friend Sean both share the studio space, and they rented out studio space in New York for photography, cinematography, interviews, hanging out, whatever it is. Be sure to check out their space. It's really, really rad. While I was at Dane's studio, I had to take a couple portraits of him and his studio. I mean, this place is just really beautiful, and it was pouring down rain this day, but the light coming in from above, he has like this really nice skylight, and it really filled the room well with some like soft ambient light. So I did take these photos of Dane, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. I think the Leica was able to pick up a lot of detail just on 35mm film, and Portrait 800 really crushed it. I did shoot these at a pretty slow shutter speed, so to be able to not have them be too blurry or shaky, specifically this one, I think I'm really happy with the results and how they came out. Also, just the tones are so good. Like, the studio looks great and the lighting looks great, so I really love this portrait of Dane. And Dane's one of my close friends, so glad I got a good one of him.
Look at that.
My last day of my trip, I had to go out to my sister-in-law's balcony. This is literally where they live. Like, they can just walk out onto this balcony whenever they want and look at this city. And for someone to come to New York City, you're usually staying in a hotel. You're usually not getting access to these kind of like personal areas and moments. And to be able to come here and like see this made me want to move to New York so bad. Like, this is like the New York that tourists don't get to see. It's like the very raw, like you're walking on your balcony, you get to see into everyone else's apartments, everyone's sharing these spaces. It's very cramped, it's very tight, but it's also very special. Like, these moments don't happen around the world. New York is a very special place, and so to be able to have that experience was really special. So Amanda, Ross, thank you guys so much for letting me crash at your apartment for a week. I miss my air mattress. Nice Film Club did such a good job developing these photos, and if you guys want, I do have a 10% off order code. It's JC10 at checkout, and you can get 10% off of your order. I am an ambassador for them, and I will say they're the best lab out there. I'm not biased, maybe a little bit biased, but they are the best lab out there. Before I end this video, I just want to give a big thank you to everyone that helped me while I was in New York City. Again, I can't get around very easily, and it's hard to meet up with people. So everyone from Dane, Garrett, Amanda, Ross, all my friends, Linktree, Farah, Linus, Brandon, all you guys, thank you so much for making my time in New York special, hanging out with me, and making some really cool stuff. I had a really good time, and I appreciate all of you guys. So if you guys like the video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. If you have any questions about any of the photography in this video, any of the camera gear that I use to film it, or the photography gear that I use to actually take the photos, please don't hesitate to ask them down below. I love answering questions and I would love to help you out. Again, thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.